betting. I'm just saying, just in that era of my life. Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. Today we are going to be letting book prompts or TBR prompts choose our TBR for January. I haven't done this one in a while. I will link the last time I did this down below or in the iCard, but it's really fun. It kind of switches up the TBR. Instead of just choosing things that you would normally pick, you kind of have to diverse yourself and pick other books that maybe you wouldn't have picked. If you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button down below just so you don't miss any more of my videos. Give it a like if you enjoy this video. And let's get started with choosing our TBR for January. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to close my eyes, pick out a prompt, read it, and then find a book that corresponds with that question or that most closely relates to that question. I did just redo my TBR cart, so if you haven't watched that video, it's the last one I posted. Go ahead and check it out. But I think I'm going to choose between 8 to 10 books. I'm not sure yet. I am currently halfway through a book, so there's already one kind of on my January TBR, and I'm hoping to get a few books that I'm looking forward to reading this month. However, let's get into the first prompt and start this video for my January TBR. Alright, so the first prompt we're going to find... I did go through these prompts and just make sure all of them kind of go to a book. I had to pick out a few that I didn't have a book that would answer that prompt. That way it makes it a little bit more smooth sailing. The first one is a Book Talk viral book. I don't know if you're gonna be able to see. So I have a few that stand out to me. A lot of books I've had and then they went viral, or maybe the first book in the series went viral and I'm already kind of through the series. The first one that I know of is Haunting Adeline. The second one that I personally was seeing on my Book Talk feed was Butcher and Blackbird, which was one book I am kind of looking forward to read. So I think I'm going to pick out Butcher and Blackbird by Bryn Weaver. If this was not going to come up in this video, I was going to have to read it anyway because my sister and I are doing a video on this. So the only thing I know is it's a friends to lovers, dark romantic comedy, and it's full of murder, chaos, and chemistry. So it seems really interesting. I think this would be a fun read and look forward to the video that will come out later this month. This is going to be the first book added to our January TBR. I'm going to put them here. You might not be able to see them, but they're there. I'm going to set this prompt aside just so I don't pull it again, and we'll keep going. Second prompt is... Oops. An anticipated read. There's a lot of books I'm looking forward to reading. I would say the first book that came to mind that I've really wanted to pick up for some reason right now is Phantasma by Kylie Smith. This is kind of like a fantasy with romance, so I'd say like a romantasy. I'm not sure if it's YA or adult, so I don't want to say one and be wrong, but it is labeled as a fantasy romance. This is the first book in a soon-to-be series. I don't know when the next book is coming out, but I actually heard a ton of good reviews. This is another one that I think was on TikTok. I didn't see it there, but I heard that this was a book that was pretty popular on TikTok, and I'm excited. I think I'm gonna like this book, and honestly, I have been dying to read a fantasy, so I cannot wait to pick this book up. It might be the next book I read. I'm just saying. So just a little summary of what this book is about, because I honestly didn't know, but I just read the back. It follows a girl named Ophelia, and she finds her mother brutally murdered. She inherits her family's like magic, so there is a magical element in this book, as well as an enormous debt. So she's trying to pay off the debt, but her sister, in order to do that, enters a contest or a competition named Phantasma, and you have to go through this series of stages and win in order to survive. And so the only way to save her sister is to also enter and win. There are 9 floors to succeed if her fears don't overtake her. And basically a dark, mysterious man comes and says that he can help, and she obviously doesn't trust him. I assume that's where the chemistry starts to come in, and that relationship seems super fun, fast-paced, like a great fantasy book. I've put that prompt to the side. Onto the next one. This one is a different kind of paper. Continue a series. I was hoping to get this one actually because I've been itching to read Harry Potter, and I think it's because I started rewatching all of the movies and I'm just in that era of my life. I just am consuming it so much, and I want to continue the series because I really want to finish the series this year. This is a big book to commit to, but I do think it'll be pretty fast for me to get through. I am on book 6, which is The Half-Blood Prince. I have read all the way up to this. This is my first time reading it through. The movies, I kind of talked about this, I think, in my last video. I have watched the movies dozens and dozens of times, but there is so much more depth and information in the books, and I just love that. I love every aspect of it, the movies, the books, whatever it may be. So reading it is just a whole different kind of happiness for me, and I know this book is gonna make me feel some things. Even though I know what happens, I just know it's gonna kill me. But nonetheless, we're gonna start the 6th book and finally get through the series this year. And for my prompt of continuing a series, we're gonna choose Harry Potter. Next TBR prompt. I don't know. Some of these are so like thin, it's hard to know if I've even grabbed anything. A book you don't know anything about. I do have a few of these kind of books on my TBR cart because more often than not, I hear about a book and I'm like, great, you sold me. Let me go get my hands on it and I'll bring it home with me. And I might not ever look at the cover or anything, which is both a good and bad thing. But the first few that I can think of that I really have no idea about would be Red Queen by Victoria Avantgarde. I know enough to say that it's a fantasy with obviously a very like high up main character, like rich. I think there's some power in it. And the other one is Beartown by Frederick Bachman, because I was just hearing a ton about his books. Never looked into him, never have even heard of that author until I picked it up. So I actually think I'm gonna go with this book. The only time I kind of skimmed the back was in a previous video where I was kind of talking about how I just picked this up like on a whim. And Beartown by Frederick Bachman, I was hearing amazing things about the author and his writing style, but I really have no idea what to expect going into the book. I don't know, it's gonna be a shocker and I hope I enjoy it. I think if I'm not mistaken, which I'm not because I see it, he is the author of A Man Called Ove, which was a very, very popular sad book that was going around on, I saw it on BookTube, but I didn't know that he wrote that until right now. So Beartown is the next book on my January TBR, and I do hope I really love this book with how many people I've heard saying that they really enjoy it. We'll see. You'll know because I'll talk about it. For books down, let's continue our search. I need to start pulling down here a little bit because I have pulled a lot up here, but that's okay, right? Okay, almost dropped it. This one is a 5-star oh, I ripped it. Man, oh man. A 5-star prediction is what this says. So 5 stars, I don't want to say I hardly give a 5-star, but it takes a lot in me to give a 5-star read because I'm not picky, but There's a few select books that really stand out to me and are my 5-star read, and a lot of books end up being like a 4-star just because it's missing that little something. So looking here, what do I think will be a 5-star read? Honestly, the first book that I think of is because of the author and her previous books. I'm gonna go with Betting on You by Lynn Painter. I love Lynn Painter's writing. I've read Better Than the Movies as well as The Do-Over, and I loved both of those books. So I just have a feeling I'm gonna love this one. The only thing that is concerning me a little bit is it's a thick book for it to be a romance. So we'll see, but I do think this will probably be a 5-star for me just because I love her books, her characters, her storylines. They just keep me very much entertained on a romance aspect. This is a young adult romance. It follows a girl named Bailey, and her parents suddenly divorce, and she moves to Omaha. She gets a new job and she finds a guy there. They kind of agree that they don't enjoy each other's company and stuff like that. Some of her coworkers are flirting, so they make a bet basically stating that friends can't just be friends. There's always something more. So then they end up fake dating to kind of annoy her mom and her mom's new boyfriend. It goes on from there. Fake dating, romance. I'm a little concerned with the length, like I said, but we'll see. We'll see if I enjoy this. Betting on You is the next book for January. I do feel like so far we're getting a pretty good mix of books because we have some fantasy, some romance, some young adult. We're kind of getting a good mix of everything, which I'm happy about. This will be our 6th book that we're picking out. This one's a long one. Okay. An author whose first or last name starts with a T, because that's my name. So first or last name that starts with a T. I feel like a lot of these are C's. Okay. Riley. Okay, this might actually be my only option if I'm being honest. Yeah, this is my only option. Defy Me by Tahara Mafi. Tahara starts with a T. This is the 5th book in the Shatter Me series. I kind of use these as filler books, and I haven't read one in a really long time. I don't mind. It's a pretty quick read. This is a dystopian type of book with some magic in it. There's some action, some like people who do not appreciate the magic aspect, some people that are the magic. So we'll see. I don't remember where I left off, so it'll be fun to kind of pick up and remember where I ended the previous book. But the prompt, a author's name that either begins or ends with a T, will be Defy Me by Tahara Mafi. All right, my battery unfortunately died, but I just changed it out. We're gonna choose 2 more books because right now we have 6, so we'll make it 8. Let's keep going. Sometimes I like never want to stop and I just keep choosing prompts and then I just have a ton of books. So we can't do that this month. The next prompt is a YA book. So I feel like we're running out of some YA novels. I'm not gonna lie. Because I know Harry Potter's YA, but I've already chosen one of those. So I'm not gonna choose another one. These are just more fantasy specific. You know what? I said I was gonna read this in the summer, but I feel like this is, nothing can get more YA than this. When in Rome follows like a small town romancy cutesy little book, and I was gonna save it for the summer, but I really have been dying to read this and I'm about to go to Europe later this month, so maybe I'll end up loving this. There is a little like note from Abby Jimenez. If you didn't know, she's one of my favorite authors, and she had said, this modern take on the Hepburn classic Roman Holiday is a quick, fun, slow burn rom-com. So this is like a perfect little book for a YA prompt. So When in Rome will be the next book. Definitely like a faster, small read, which I think will be refreshing throughout this month. I'm actually really excited to read that book. But last prompt, we have a few in here left, so let's pick a good one for this last prompt, I hope. Oh, this is a long one. I don't know what it is though. A book you haven't heard many reviews about. Rip off that little extra piece. A book you haven't heard many reviews about. The thing is I buy a lot of books based on what I hear from people, not necessarily like book reviews or they've read the book and they talk about the summary and everything. It's more like, did they like it, did they not? So that's a lot of these books. My first, this is kind of a hard prompt because, no, you know what? I've heard a lot of reviews about these books here. Other than like Red Queen. Red Queen, I haven't heard a ton of reviews about. I feel like it's a very old book. I remember this book being actually in like OG booktube when I was like really young and I would watch it. Red Queen was one that was talked about. Not so much anymore. Obviously Cassandra Clare, I've personally heard a lot. Red Queen, or I want to say Throne of Secrets. I heard a lot about Throne of the Fallen when it first came out. This one came out and honestly I wasn't hearing anything about it. I don't know if I just wasn't on kind of my reading pages at that time. I think I'm gonna pick Throne of Secrets because I think that'll be really fun this month. And I kind of want to get it read before it becomes too old. So Throne of the Fallen was the first book. This is the second book. The first book I really enjoyed. The book encapsulates some like vampires, some werewolves, which is really, I feel like, different for me because I don't read a lot of those types of books. And there's a romance. I really enjoyed, I remember, the male character in the first book very unexpectedly, and so I'm quite intrigued to read this one. It says love is the most dangerous adventure of all, and the first book dealt with a lot of like competitions and stages of challenges that you had to go through. So I don't know if this is a continuation of that, but I do think this will be really fun, and I have not heard really any reviews. I have no idea if people love this or didn't. So I will have to read it and decide for myself. So Throne of Secrets by Carrie Maniscalco, sorry I didn't say the author, is going to be the final book in my January TBR. Let's go through them all, do a little refresh, and end out the video. Oh goodness. We'll start with the first prompt and just kind of refresh our minds on what books I chose. The first book was a Book Talk viral book, and for that I chose Butcher and Blackbird by Bryn Weaver. Next was an anticipated read, and for that I chose Phantasma by Kylie Smith. I'm so excited to read this book. You guys have no idea. I don't know what it is, if I'm being honest, because it's not like I knew a lot about this book before this video. So I just really want to read it. Continue a series is the next prompt, and for that, Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince, the 6th book in the Harry Potter series. I'm so excited to read this as well. A book I know nothing about, and for that I chose Beartown by Frederick Bachman. Really have no idea what to expect, which is kind of nice. I usually like having no expectations going into a read, but for this it's very much no expectations. I have no idea. No clue. 5-star prediction, and for that I chose Betting on You by Lynn Painter. Love her books, so I have to assume I'm gonna love this book. Hopefully it's not a disappointment. book whose first or last name starts with my initial, which is a T, and the only option I had for this was Defy Me by Tahira Mafi because her first name starts with a T. So yay you. YA book, the one that I felt like most closely related to that was When in Rome by Sarah Adams. I feel like small town romance, YA, perfect pick. So hopefully I enjoyed this little quick read this month. And then finally, the last one is, I even forget the prompt, even though I just read it. A book you haven't heard many reviews about, and the more I thought about this book, the more I was like, I absolutely have no idea what people thought of this book, and that was Throne of Secrets by Carrie Maniscalco, the second book after Throne of the Fallen. So these are my books for the month of January. A good selection, a good variety of genres and authors. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, again, please give it a like, subscribe so you don't miss any more content from me. Hopefully we'll have a lot of good reading vlogs this month. I will be sure to talk about the books that I read at the end of the month, so if you're curious about my opinions on them, I will let you know. If you have any fun book prompts, please give them to me. I need to refresh my little bowl of them. So thank you guys so much for watching this video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.